Hello everyone, this is Puka and welcome to another edition of Bad Deck Monday, where we take some fun ideas and put them to the test and see if we can get them to work. Now today's video is going to be pretty special. I got the idea from a player named Sydney Morrisoli. She was the runner-up at Junior Nationals in 2011, a senior division player, and her and her father presented this deck to me. I'm very good friends with them, and apparently they got this from a blog off a Japanese player's website, which I'll give you a link in the description of the video. And it's kind of a fun deck, but also kind of really annoying and serious at the same time. It's a weird mix. So let's jump right into it. I've tried in the past to use this Exeggutor before, and I just have not been able to get it to work, but hey, it's Bad Deck Monday, why not try it out? We're going to be using Exeggutor for the attack Blockade. So it does 20, or I wish it did 20, 10 damage for 1 energy, and then your opponent can't play any supporter cards. Okay, so that's pretty crazy when you think about pretty much every deck relies exclusively on supporter cards to draw cards. You know, there's like Bicycle, and we see some decks play Roller Skates, but pretty much every deck plays your 4 Juniper and your Ends and your Skyla and your Chorus or your Karina. Point is, they rely on a lot of supporter cards just to draw cards. So if we can actually take those away, our opponent just might not have many options to work with, and maybe we can win just by denying them resources. We see this strategy pretty often with Seismitoad EX using Quaking Punch, or we saw Trevenant in the past with that Forest Curse ability, shutting off items, but supporter cards, that's a different way to attack. So that's what we're going to try to use. Blockade. Now the problem is it only does 10 damage. So that's not really going to knock anything out. And it doesn't matter if they can't play supporters. Eventually they're going to draw into everything in their deck, and you won't knock them out because you're doing 10. So we need some way to pick up the pace a little bit, add a little bit more damage. So we have a 4/4 line of Exeggutor. I'm going to get to the damage modifiers in a bit, but I also want to note that with Exeggutor comes Execute, which has that awesome propagation ability, which you can take it out of the discard pile and put it into your hand. So this makes discarding cards much easier, and it also makes it so if your Execute gets knocked out, just pull it right out of the discard pile. Put it right back down on the bench. It's pretty cool. Alright, so the 4/4 Exeggutor, the way we're going to add damage is number 1, Muscle Band. So now we're doing 30 instead of 10. Sure, 30 isn't a lot either, but it is 3 times better than 10. Check my math there, but I think that's right. And then Hypnotoxic Laser is the big one. So they're poisoned, and then you can flip for sleep, but with the Verbank City Gym, that's 30 in between turns, right? 10 from poison, 2 from Verbank, adds up to 30. So now Blockade with the Muscle Band, the Laser, and the Verbank is doing a total of 60, and 60 is still not great either. What if they just retreat? Well, that's where the second part of the deck comes in. This nice Pokemon, Dragalge, has Poison Barrier. Your opponent's poisoned Pokemon, can't retreat. So there's the thing. We're going to poison Verbank, Muscle Band, and then if they can't retreat, if they're stuck there, they have to take the poison. Then coming back to your turn, it's another 30, and then you get to poison them again, going back into their turn, another 30, and then all of a sudden these 30s start to add up into big numbers, and you start to get knockouts. So Dragalge is a great way to stop a Pokemon from retreating. A lot of decks, like the Donphan deck, for example, don't really play Switch too much. We just see a lot of Floatstone, and a lot of decks only play a couple Switch at most. And even if they do play them, well, they might not draw them without the access to their supporter cards. So this is a huge component of this deck, being able to prevent your opponent from retreating. That's pretty cool. So it just makes Hypnotoxic Laser that much stronger. So this is going to be the entire concept. The 4/4 Exeggutor, the 2/2 Dragalge, we got 2 Skrelp and 2 Dragalge, and then we're also going to run a Virizion EX, just because Hypnotoxic Laser can still be played against us. And, if you don't want to stay asleep or anything like that, or take excess damage if we don't have to. So Verdant Wind is going to block those special conditions. And then we have one Dragalge EX as well, just for stellar guidance to search for one of our many different kinds of supporter cards. And that's another cool thing I want to look at here. So we have 4 Professor Juniper, very standard. We have 2 Lysander, also pretty standard. 2 Skyla. But then, we only have 1 N. What's that all about? Well, we don't want to give our opponent a fresh hand of 6. We are stopping them from playing supporters and drawing cards. So we're only going to play 1 N. Now, we're just going to play 1 because you never know when you need to put an opponent down to a really low hand size. Think about an N to 1 followed by Blockade, shutting off their supporters. Whew. You really limit their resources then. No more Juniper off that N to 1. They can't play it. So that's pretty cool. We're also going to run Team Flare Grunt. So this is just a way to annoy our opponent even more. Discard the energy off their active. Again, if they can't play supporters, they might not draw into more energy. Team Flare Grunt can stop them from attacking completely. Then we can also pair this with Enhanced Hammer, which can discard special energy. And we're going to run a Shadow Triad, since it's a great way to get back a Hypnotoxic Laser, get back a Team Plasma card. This just makes it so we can get tons and tons of Hypnotoxic Lasers in a game, because we're also going to run 4 VS Seeker to get back our annoying supporters, or just our Juniper. So just think about it. 4 Hypnotoxic Laser, and then a Shadow Triad could turn that into 5, and then 4 VS Seeker could turn that into 9 Hypnotoxic Lasers, and then Dowsing Machine could also turn that into a 10th Hypnotoxic Laser, so potentially we could play 10 in a whole game. And that is downright silly. Dowsing Machine, of course, discard 2 cards, get back a trainer card. Now, if we somehow burn through all of those resources, we also have Lysander's trump card. Now, since Hypnotoxic Laser is such a big part of this deck's offense, this deck's doing anything, we're going to run Lysander's trump card. Makes sense, right? Might as well. Play 1, shuffle everything back in, and annoy our opponent to death even more. The game never ends. With 1 trump card and 4 VS Seeker, oh boy, the game truly will never end. Unless, well, someone's going to have to take their prizes. We also have a couple Battle Compressor. I'm not sure how I feel about this card in this deck, but it's a cool idea because you can potentially Battle Compressor for 3 Execute, and then just pull them out of your discard pile, and it's basically like you played 3 Ultra Balls at once for 3 Execute. That's pretty sweet. We can also use it to target certain supporters. Say we really need a Flare Grunt this turn, and we have a VS Seeker in the hand. We can go ahead and discard it with Battle Compressor, and then VS Seeker it right out of the discard pile. So really cool. And it's just a nice way to get rid of excess cards as well. I think those are the main purposes of Battle Compressor. Pretty cool. And to continue with the annoyance theme, we also have 2 Headringer. So this is a great way to slow down those big Pokemon EX, make them pay an extra energy to attack, because, hey, again, resources are going to be hard to come by when they can't play supporter cards. That's the entire point of the deck. Alright, we also have a Professor's Letter to search for energy, a Startling Megaphone to discard tools in case we have to. This could be big against Garbodor. And a Switch, just because everybody needs a Switch. I think that is everything in this deck. I think it's a pretty cool concept. It's much more complicated than a lot other decks we see. So, I know it's something new, something fresh, but I will warn you, it is something boring. This game, any game with this deck is going to take forever because you're doing 10 or 30 damage at a time. And it's really just grinding your opponent down until they run out of resources. Isn't that fun? Alright, let's go ahead and jump right into a game I played on Pokemon TCG Online and see if we can blockade someone out of the game. So we see a mulligan right off the bat, a lightning and a darkness energy. Probably signals some kind of Manectric and Yveltal deck. You never know on PTCGO, but if I had to guess, that would be my guess. And we're starting off with the Execute. Gonna get an extra card for the mulligan. And, yep, there's a Manectric EX right off the bat. Alright, so that's It's honestly a pretty threatening Pokemon. There are a lot of weaknesses for this deck. Let me just get this right out of the way. Yes, you have an auto loss to Virizion EX. Okay, there's no way to beat that. You lose to Virizion Genesect. Let's just get that out of the way. You can't poison them. This deck's awful when you can't poison, so that's one of the big weaknesses of this deck. Another one is like Landorus EX using Hammerhead and knocking out 2 Exeggutor in a single attack. That's really bad. Manectric EX with a Muscle Band could overrun and turn 1 knock out my Exeggutor. So I have a Skyla here. I have a lot of different options. I could grab an Ultra Ball, grab a Scralp, go for that. I could do a Battle Compressor, discard more eggs, and then actually get a Juniper in the discard, so I can VS Seeker for it. I'm actually going to take Headringer. I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do, but it seems pretty worthwhile, since it will stop a Muscle Band and Overrun. It'll stop Overrun, period, which is going to buy me the time I need, as I struggle to say thanks and good luck to a very nice opponent. Okay, so I don't know how to particularly play against this deck. We see a Manectric Spirit Link going down onto the Trubbish, so pretty happy I put the Headringer down, because if that Spirit Link got on the Manectric EX, I gotta think Mega Manectric pretty much runs through this whole deck. Turbo Bolt, I think that's what it's called, does 110 damage, and yeah, that's not going to be good. It's got a lot of HP, and yeah, that just not going to be good. Alright, so I do have a VS Seeker here. We're going to go ahead and grab the Skyla with that, and I think it's time to grab the Juniper. Just get that into my hand, and should be good. Right, get a supporter so I can draw some cards. And it's time for the blockade to begin. Gonna stop my opponent's supporters, alright. And whopping 10 damage. Take that, Manectric EX. 16 more of those and you're going down, buddy. Oh yeah. We do see an Ultra Ball discarding Trump card and a Mega Manectric. And we do see Garbodor coming out. So Garbo Toxin is in effect. That's kind of annoying because it'll shut off my Dragalge. And oh, we see another Mega Manectric EX. Yeah, it's got a lot of HP. I don't really like that. That's going to be tough. Okay, so let's go with the Verbank and let's Juniper away. And alright, we got some stuff. We got the Scralp, the Dragalge again. Not going to do anything because Garbodor is out there. Garbo Toxin, shutting down our abilities. I'll go ahead and put down an Exeggutor. And I have a Laser, but I don't think I want to play it on a Mega Manectric that doesn't have an energy and would require 3 of them to attack me. So we're going to hold on to the Laser until the regular Manectric comes out, which is exactly what is happening right now. So you see my opponent only has 2 cards. Odds are one of those is probably like a Juniper. So the blockade strategy is working so far. We're stopping our opponent from being able to really do anything. I'm going to go ahead with a Laser and the Muscle Band on this Manectric EX since it has the energy. And blockade for 30. Oh, he wakes up. If he would have stayed asleep, that would have been huge. That would have been, oh man. Probably would have been able to knock that thing out in a couple turns. Because you're really not going to get one-hit knockouts to this deck ever. Oh, a Bicycle. So that's one of the big things my opponent could draw there to get some extra cards. That is a pretty big deal. And oh no, the Lightning Energy. So now we're going to see the Assault Laser. I have a tool attached, so that's 120 damage. Exeggutor not especially equipped to deal with this kind of a deck. Oh well. Draw a Skyla once again. And I think once again it's just going to go for a Juniper. That's unfortunate that we had to Skyla for a Juniper twice, but hey, it is what it is. We can work with it. At least I have a supporter. And yeah, I guess we're going to go for the blockade again. Now the bright side here, the silver lining is that I don't think that Manectric can knock me out this turn. There's no way. It would have to, well, a Muscle Band and a Laser would do it, but that seems pretty unlikely. Yeah, point being, well, a Spirit Link and a Mega Manectric could knock me out too, but The point is they just don't have enough resources to do that, right? They only have a couple cards, can't play supporters. So even though I'm hardly doing any damage, I'm also preventing my opponent from really doing anything either, and that is the whole point. Here is an overrun for 20 damage. That's not a big deal. And we draw another head ringer. Head ringer is a big deal. Gonna go ahead and drop that onto the active Manectric EX, since that one is not damaged as much. The one on the bench, if it wants to come out and attack me again, be my guest. It is pretty weakened at this point. So I have Startling Megaphone here, and the big problem here with Headringer is that I would discard my own Headringer if I played Startling Megaphone. So I would love to discard the Spirit Link off of Garbodor and prevent my opponent from retreating, but then I would lose the Headringers, so it's not a good trade-off. In the Japanese version of this deck, Tool Scrapper was legal. It's probably more of an expanded format, so Tool Scrapper would have been great right here. You know, just discard the one off of Garbodor, keep my Headringers, get my abilities. That would have been beautiful. But we don't have Tool Scrapper anymore, so perhaps Zero Sick would not be a bad idea to throw in here. You never know. I might try that out. Right now, my opponent didn't have anything. Stayed asleep on the Hypnotoxic Laser on the previous turn. That was a really, really big deal. So we're just going to go with another Blockade. What else can we do? But Blockade, Blockade, Blockade. We could Stomp. You might be tempted to Stomp. You might be saying, why didn't you Stomp for the knockout? And the reason is I don't want to do that. I don't want to give my opponent supporters. That would be defeating the whole purpose of this deck. Taking those two prizes is not worth my opponent getting to play a Juniper and then dumping a bunch of cards down. I need to just Blockade every single turn. And oh man, that was a really big top deck. I was hoping for a Hypnotoxic Laser or a Lysander, and we got the Lysander. And get ready for some of the most boring stuff of your life, folks. We're going to bring out a Garbodor that does not have a Floatstone on it and cannot have a Floatstone played on it. And we're going to Blockade to stop any supporters from being played. Oh man, that is just downright silly. So this is going to take some time, folks. I hate to break it to you. It is going to take quite some time. I'm doing 10 damage at a time. I actually draw a Lysander's Trump card. That's an interesting card I could play here. And I think I'm going to play it. This is probably as good a time as ever. For some reason, it's allowing me to use Propagation even through Garbotoxin. That's some kind of a glitch there. But, yeah, we're going to Trump card. Let's shuffle in, you know, Laser and 2 Lasers and a Shadow Triad and a VS Seeker and a Lysander. We got a lot of stuff put back in that deck. And my opponent just got a bunch of energy put back in, which is fine. That means if a Mega Manectric ever uses Turbo Bolt, there won't be any energy in there to power up a different Pokemon. And just a couple supporters go back in the deck. A Switch did go back in there, which is potentially hazardous, but that's alright. Oh yeah, we're going to continue with the Blockade. And we have heavily damaged a couple Pokemon, so in the future that could be good for me. Here I have a Startling Megaphone, and man, I would love to play it. I would love to play it, and then Ultra Ball for my Jirachi that I just put back in, and get a supporter. But I'd get rid of the Headringers. Those darn Headringers. Ugh. Oh well. So let's go with the Battle Compressor. We'll go ahead and play that. And we get to discard 3 cards out of the deck. Normally I would go for Execute, but since Garbotoxin is shutting off my abilities, I don't want to do that, because then Execute would just sit in the discard pile like, hey, I'm here. What is going on? I can't come out right now. Not cool. I'm also going to take a Juniper, since if I draw a VS Seeker, I can go ahead and play that for the Juniper. There's only 2 VS Seeker in my deck. 2 of them are prized. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to discard a Verbank, which is probably going to be worthless at this point. And I'm going to play an Ultra Ball. Might as well get another Execute into play at this point, since I have Exeggutor in hand. So let's grab another little egg. Looks like 6 eggs, actually. Half a dozen. And blockade! Riveting attacking maneuvers on my side. I have used blockade, 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 and blockade. So yes, this will not be a deck with a lot of variety. Very similar to Seismitoad, Quaking Punch, Quaking Punch, Quaking Punch, and Quaking Punch. Which was very similar to Zebstrika or the old Manectric EX. Disconnect, 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 and disconnect. Right. Okay, so we see a Max Potion. Oh my god. Max Potion healed off 130 damage. That took so many turns to build up. But I drew a Hypnotoxic Laser. That is awesome. So what's going to happen here is Garbodor is going to get knocked out from poison coming back into my turn. Take that, Garbodor. Poison Pokemon are not supposed to be poisoned, but this is the card game. Take that, you big pile of garbage. Okay, so that's going to be cool. Coming back into my turn. Gonna get knocked out from poison, and oh great, I drew VS Seeker, so I wish I had a Juniper in the discard pile. Yep, all I have is in there is Trump card. But, oh, hey, Garbotoxin is off, so I can Ultra Ball for Jirachi. Alright, Jirachi bailing us out. So I'm definitely going to grab a Juniper off the Jirachi's Stellar Guidance. Again, do not want to play the Megaphone because Headringer is my friend. And let's go ahead and grab Professor Juniper. We got lots of you still in the deck. Alright, so there we go. Muscle Band on the active and Juniper away. And I do have a Dowsing Machine. I could play that for a laser, but, you know, I probably should have done that. Just Dowsing Machine for the laser and trap the Manectric there. That was probably silly. Never mind, he had a Float Stone, so it would have shut off my poison barrier anyway. So, no big deal, that's fine. And okay, so now it's up to Exeggutor. We're down a prize. Got some heavily damaged eggs out here. But, you know, it could be worse. There's a lot of different things that could be wrong with this situation. And, you know, let's look at the bright side here. I have a Team Flare Grunt. Going to go ahead and discard the Lightning Energy off of the active Manectric EX. And let's go with a Hypnotoxic Laser. And we can even drop down a Muscle Band. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. And you can see just how slow-moving my opponent's deck is without supporter cards. Pretty cool. This deck does rely on a little bit of luck here. Turns the game into a lot of luck of the draw, what card you top deck, and whatnot. But it's pretty cool to be able to actually slow a game down these days without using Quaking Punch. Alright, so no energy, no card played at all from my opponent, and that makes me scratch my head and say, so how do we want to approach this? Let's blockade. I don't want to end. My opponent clearly has nothing. I don't need to Lysander. My opponent's active is clearly poisoned. And I'm going to save Dowsing Machine for a better time. How about that? So things are all of a sudden looking okay. See the Manectric EX. If it doesn't move or Mega Evolve, it will get knocked out coming back into my turn, which will be really cool. Oh, we do see a computer search, though. So it's going to search for any card. That's another way my opponent can search out cards in a non-supporter fashion. Actually discards Lysander and VS Seeker. One of the really cool things about Blockade is it does block Lysander, which means good old Jirachi is safe unless we see like a Pokemon catcher. And we just see a regular Yveltal coming down, and, kind of a weird situation now. So, I get the 2 prizes coming back into my turn. That was awesome. And, what do we want to do here? I have Lysander. I think I'm going to go after the Yveltal EX with no energy, since it has a Muscle Band on it and a 2 retreat cost. And I don't believe my opponent plays Double Colorless. It doesn't look like it. I haven't seen it yet. Even if he does, he probably doesn't have one. So that's good for me. And we can Dowsing Machine for a Hypnotoxic Thingamajigger. And, you know, it's weird, but the game is kind of laid out for us. Right? If we can manage to knock out this Yveltal EX, we're going to go with the Blockade right here. And if it doesn't retreat, or no switch, then we should be able to eventually knock it out with Blockade. And then after that, I'm going to Skyla for Lysander, and we can bring up the Damage Manectric EX and perhaps win the game. How weird is that? So I'm going to Skyla here for the VS Seeker. Get that in my hand. It can be any supporter I want in my discard pile, so seems to make sense. Grab the most versatile card in case something goes wrong. And again, the Yveltal EX has not moved. Blockade! The Blockade Party is continuing. And it's really cool how the math works out. If the EX doesn't move, they get knocked out coming back into my turn. That is just awesome. And I cannot believe this. This game looked pretty ugly at the beginning, but the power of the Blockade, we're going to Lysander out that Manectric EX, and let's switch it up with a Stomp to end the game. A Stomp on Manectric EX. Good game. Exeggutor and Dragalge take it down with the power of a laser gun. Eggs firing laser guns. That's what we can take away from today's edition of Bad Deck Monday. And somehow they stop your supporter cards, and your big EXs fall to a 10 damage attack. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This deck is a lot of fun to play. Probably super annoying to play against, but it is rather entertaining. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I will certainly have some more videos for you soon. I am Puka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.